Everyone keeps repeating the same old lie. You have to study hard in school, get excellent grades, finish with high honors, and then your life will be perfect. But after seeing the reality for years, I believe modern school is one of the biggest scams of our generation. In this video, I'm going to expose the brutal truths that most teachers, parents, and society don't want you to hear. How school wastes the best years of your life, damages you mentally and physically, programs you for a mediocre 9-to-5 existence, and most importantly, exactly how to deal with it while still getting your diploma with minimum stress and damage. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Valid or Nah. This channel is all about raw logic and uncomfortable truths. If you're a student who feels trapped or overwhelmed by school, or if you already finished and feel like it was a waste of time, stay with me. Hit subscribe and let's dive deep into this. Let's start with the most obvious nonsense in the system. Whether you graduate with a 95+ average or you barely pass with 55 to 60 in most subjects, you still receive the exact same high school diploma at the end. All those years of stress, anxiety attacks before exams, fighting with parents, sacrificing sleep and social life, for basically the same piece of paper that hundreds of thousands of other students get every year. I had a girl in my class who was the perfect example of this. She studied every single day, prioritized school above everything else, stayed up late every night, stressed about every test, and always got much higher grades than me. She was the classic good student. She barely had any social life, never went to the gym, and looked exhausted most of the time. Me? I was much more relaxed. I showed up, did the minimum when needed, and used my free time for things I actually cared about. At the end of the day, we both graduated. We both got the exact same diploma. All her extra stress, all her sacrificed youth, all her perfect grades, gave her almost zero real advantage in the end. We ended up in the same place. This story hit me hard and became one of the biggest eye-openers that made me question the whole system. How many other students are destroying themselves right now for the exact same illusion? Now let's talk about what they actually teach us. Basic math is useful, calculating money, percentages, simple logic. But the advanced stuff? Complex trigonometry, integrals, quadratic equations, memorizing endless historical dates, and complicated literature analysis. 95% of people will never use any of this again in their entire adult life. You spend months stressing and memorizing it. Take the test, and 2 weeks later your brain deletes it like it never existed. It's rented knowledge for a grade, not real knowledge for life. School doesn't prepare you for real success. It prepares you to be a good, obedient employee. Look at your daily routine for the last 12 years. Wake up early every morning, rush to school, sit still for 6 to 8 hours, come home tired, do homework, study for tests, sleep, and repeat. This is perfect conditioning to train you to wake up early and sit for long hours doing things you don't enjoy. Then the moment you finish school, you go straight into a 9-to-5 job and do the exact same cycle for the next 40 to 45 years until retirement. The system trained you perfectly without you even realizing what was happening. But the mental programming is even deeper and more dangerous. From a young age, school teaches you to constantly wait for happiness instead of creating it. You live for the weekend. You live for the next holiday. You live for summer vacation. You count down the days until Friday. Every year you survive the school year just to enjoy those 2 months of freedom. This mindset gets burned deep into your brain. As an adult, you work 11 months a year just waiting for that one short vacation. When the vacation ends, life feels even more depressing and empty. This creates the classic live for the weekend adult mentality that traps millions of people. Another big thing that makes school a scam is that it slowly kills your creativity and your ability to think for yourself. From the first grade, the system trains you to memorize, repeat, and obey. There's almost no room for original thinking, asking difficult questions, or coming up with new ideas. If you think differently, you're usually told you're wrong or disruptive. They punish mistakes instead of encouraging experimentation. By the time you graduate, many students have lost their natural curiosity. They're afraid to take risks, afraid to fail, and trained to wait for someone to tell them what to do. That's exactly why so many people grow up feeling lost. Because school spent 12 years training them not to think independently, and then throws them into the real world and expects them to suddenly become creative and self-motivated. In today's world, the biggest winners are usually the ones who can think differently, solve problems creatively, and take calculated risks. Exactly the opposite of what school rewards. Another critical point almost nobody talks about is the real physical and mental damage. The constant pressure, fear of failing, and chronic stress raise your cortisol levels dramatically during your most important growth years. High cortisol can slow down your height growth, damage your facial bone development, increase body fat, hurt your skin, and prevent you from reaching your full physical potential. While you're stuck inside classrooms stressing about tests, you're missing the golden window where you could have been sleeping well, training hard in the gym, eating properly, building muscle, fixing your posture, and becoming a much stronger, healthier, and more attractive version of yourself. All of that time, energy, health, and youth sacrificed for a piece of paper. So how do I personally deal with school without letting it destroy my peace, my health, and my future? The first and most important step is a powerful mindset shift. Your real life, your mental health, your body, and your dreams are infinitely more important than any grade or test score. Once you truly internalize this, you stop being a slave to the system. I use what I call the learn and forget method. During most of the school year, I stay calm and relaxed. I still show up to school every day so I don't get into trouble with teachers or parents. But I don't stress daily, I don't do unnecessary homework, and I don't study every night. 1 or 2 days before a major test, I sit down seriously, learn the material intensely like a loaded gun, go into the exam, dump everything on the paper, and right after the test, I forget it completely and move on with my life. This way I turn months of chronic stress into just a few focused days. My grades are good enough to graduate, but I keep my mental health, my free time, and my energy for the things that actually matter. You must treat school as your plan B. Your main focus and energy should go into plan A, something you are genuinely passionate about. It can be gym and fitness, starting a YouTube channel, learning programming, trading, music, business, content creation, or any real skill that can give you freedom and money in the future. What's the worst thing that can happen? Your plan A doesn't fully succeed? Then you fall back to plan B. But plan B is exactly what almost everyone else is doing anyway. So you lose nothing. In fact, you win big because while others were burning out over school, you were building real skills and experience. School is just a side quest you need to complete with minimum damage while you build your real future on the side. So after everything we covered, the useless material, the 9 to 5 programming, the toxic waiting mindset, killing creativity, the physical damage, the real-life example of the girl from my class, and the practical learn and forget strategy, the question is simple. Am I valid or not? Do you think school is mostly a scam? Or do you still believe the traditional path is the only way? Tell me your honest opinion in the comments. Did school help you or waste your time? I read every single comment. If you want more raw truth videos like this, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next one.